Hello, and welcome to today's masterclass, Selling Luxury Travel, How to Turn Your Passion for Travel into a Thriving Career. My name is Meredith Calloway. I am a co-founder and Chief Visionary Officer at Gifted Travel Network. Welcome to today's masterclass. Hopefully you're here because you are one of those people that has an undying passion for travel, but unfortunately, you don't have that much vacation time, and so you end up having to really squeeze your obsession for travel into your vacation days and your weekends, and that maybe sometimes you think or dream about leaving that job that sucks the life out of you so you can build a business and a life you love around your passion for travel. I wonder if you even know that that's possible. Well, today we are going to cover some of the most pressing questions, or cover the answers to the most pressing questions if you have started that dream, if you have started to think about turning your passion for travel, leaving that job that does suck the life out of you, and turning it into a legitimate, thriving career, so that you can really build a business and a life you love around your passion for travel. The reason why I can relate to feeling that way is because that was me in 2001. I was, I followed all the right rules. I graduated from college. I got a great job out of college, and then moved into my second or third job. I can't remember where I was, but same career in the financial world. I was in 2000. I was working on Wall Street as a bond analyst, and I was very good at what I did. I got paid very, very well. I had great benefits. I worked with lots of very stimulating people, intelligent, got invited to very cool, events to attend, got to speak on stages and talk to investors and talk about, what bonds I thought they should be buying in the sector that I covered. Got to do a lot of great writing, even participate in authoring a book, writing one of the chapters. So lots of great things going on in this career, and it was sucking the life out of me. I had financial satisfaction for sure, but I felt kind of like a slave to my job and my employer. My time wasn't my own, and so much of my time, my lifetime, was following through on all of my responsibilities in this job. And it wasn't my decision what to do with my time. It was my employer's decision. And I didn't feel fulfilled at all. And if you read the book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, great book, by the way, he talks about something called your zone of genius. And just before you discover and move into your zone of genius, you typically will fall into your zone of excellence. And this is where people are very comfortable. This is where people get paid well. They get lots of great, review, and they get rewarded for it because they're in their zone of excellence. But when you're in your zone of excellence and not your zone of genius, the big difference between the two is a sense of fulfillment. You might be really, really good at something, but you just don't enjoy it. And that was me. I was really, really good at what I did, but I just didn't enjoy it. And my heart was not in it. And what I learned ultimately, now looking back, is that I followed that path. It wasn't my own internal compass that I was following when I followed that path. I was seeking the approval and the acceptance of people who raised me, my parents. Ultimately, that's what they wanted for me, and I wanted to make them proud. And so I chose a path that would make them proud. But in choosing a path that would make them proud, I didn't choose me. And 8 years later, I was paying for it in terms of not being happy, not being fulfilled in my work, and really doubting, why am I doing this, and going through the motions. I mean, I don't know about you, but I definitely had an obsession with travel, and I would live for the weekends, and plan long weekend getaways, and those whatever weeks, I don't remember how many weeks vacations I got, but I promise you, I was the day I accrued those vacation weeks, I was planning a vacation and an escape, basically. And so today's webinar, masterclass, I was really wondering, I was like, I need to put myself back in that version of me before I was able to follow a path where I did build a business and a life I love around my passion for travel. And what were the questions that I had? What were the big pressing questions that I had? And if I can, bring it down to 3 or 4 questions and answer those questions in a masterclass, maybe, just maybe, I am going to illuminate this amazing opportunity for someone else who might want to follow this path. And so that's what we're going to do today. So today I'm going to share with you my number one question going into, or even thinking about leaving this very financially secure career, financially rewarding career. My number one question is, what is the financial possibility if I leave this and pursue travel and become a travel advisor? So that's what we're going to look at. I am going to, give you actual numbers based upon real life scenarios. So I hope you're excited and we're going to dive into that first, actually. We're also going to talk about what is a host agency and why it's important and how it differs from a franchise, because these are your options. And that is one of the very first decisions you're going to have to make if you decide to embark on this journey, is what host agency or what franchise, or should I just be independent? So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about what is a consortia. Again, it's a word that I probably didn't understand what it was before I got into the travel industry, but it's an incredibly important word to understand, concept to understand, and making sure that the host agency you choose is a member of a consortia that aligns with your business goals is a very important decision. And then lastly, what certifications are available? I wanted to know, do I need to pursue this? Do I need to get a license? Do I need to get any kind of CLIA or certificates? Is there anything that is required? And even if there isn't anything required, ultimately, how do I make sure that I'm legitimate and recognized and get the right credentials, basically, and what options are available? So let's dive right into it. What are the financial possibilities? So I love, this is a chart we show to our travel MBA students when they come here for our 3-day Jumpstart meeting. These are our new students enrolled in our new to the industry travel advisor training program. And it really illuminates the difference between when you want to sell travel and you're considering it, and why it is so important to actually not only think about this and what the financial possibilities are, but what segment of the market should I be focusing on? So what we've done is we've laid out kind of like what an average travel advisor numbers wise looks like, and side by side with who we call Luxury Lucy, and just to show you the difference in the financial possibilities when you actually decide to focus on selling luxury. So for any budget Betty, the average booking size is about $3,000. If any budget Betty is selling things like hotel rooms and parks and other not necessarily cruises, but those kind of things, her commission's going to be about 10%. If she chooses a large, well-known, very, very supportive host agency, she's going to be most likely on an 80% commission share, where she takes home 80% of her commission and her host takes home 20%, very reasonable commission split. So her average net revenue per booking, if you just look at one booking, is going to be $240. So her 10% commission on $3,000 would be $300, and 80% of that $300 is $240. She makes up most of the difference by charging a service fee. So that would mean her average revenue per booking is going to be just under $300. And if she has 100 bookings a year, now think about that, that's 2 bookings a week, which is a lot for someone to handle. 100 clients, sending 100 clients away. It's not undoable at all, but it is a full-time job for sure. And her total annual revenue is going to be $29,000. So why the travel industry or being a travel advisor is there's a lot of hobbyists in the industry, and we call them accidental hobbyists. And this is why they're accidental hobbyists. Look at poor Any Budget Betty is working full time, more than 40 hours a week probably. And she's only generating $29,000 in revenue. Now that is not even taking into consideration her expenses. That is only taking into consideration her revenues. So she's going to have expenses to run her business for sure. Now you can minimize them, but as far as I know, it's going to be hard to minimize those expenses to anything less than $10,000 or $15,000 a year. So actually her income is going to be way less than the $29,000. For Luxury Lucy, well, let me just say one more thing about Any Budget Betty. One of the battles that we struggle with in the travel industry as a host agency is legitimizing this career choice to people who are in very financially rewarding careers. Just like me, you might be in a very financially rewarding career. You might have this obsession for travel, just I was a little bit of a geek about things like boutique hotels and knowing where to find them and how to, and I love to research, would spend hours and hours and hours researching our next trip. And not only finding like really cool places to stay or really cool deals, but interesting things to do. I just loved every single aspect of it. And the research part was probably my favorite. But the overall concept by, general America or the North America even, is that the travel advisor is not a serious profession. And I think this is one of the reasons why, is because the average travel advisor doesn't make enough money to support themselves. But if you focus on luxury, things change dramatically. So when you focus on luxury, your average booking size is going to be about 30,000. It could be a lot higher actually, and we see that. But 30,000 is a pretty conservative average booking size. Your average commission on luxury partners is going to be higher, especially when you choose the right host with the right consortia. You're going to have, if you choose the right host that is also focused on luxury, they are going to negotiate the highest commissions in the industry for their advisors. So your average commission is going to be much higher than that standard 10%. And we believe at Gifted Travel Network that having a 100% commission share once you get to a certain point of sales in your business is very important, because now your host agency expense gets fixed. And the way that you get to a 100% commission share is by choosing a host agency that offers it, first of all, and paying a pretty high monthly fee. But at least that monthly fee is fixed and it's not going to change. So you know cash flow wise what to plan for. So if that's the case, your average net revenue per booking is going to be $4,800. Luxury Lucy also charges a service fee, and she's charging $300 per booking, which actually is low. If we were to survey our advisors at Gifted Travel Network, I'm pretty confident that would come out as on the low end. So her average total revenue per booking is $5,100. And because she's making so much more per booking, because she's focused on luxury, where the transaction sizes are bigger and the commissions paid on those transactions is much higher, she doesn't have to work nearly as hard as any budget Betty. In fact, she can do 50 bookings, half the number of bookings a year, and still make 10 times what any budget Betty is making. So her total annual revenue is about 255,000. And to do a true apples to apples comparison of revenue versus revenue and one versus the other, we added in the fixed month, the 12 months of that fixed monthly fee to retain 100%, on average about $10,000 a year. So take that off of her revenue, and you get to, so it's not quite 10 times, but it's almost 10 times the amount of revenue for Luxury Lucy as any budget Betty. So what is financially possible? This is an average based upon our own anecdotal experience, but let's go ahead and see what the top 10 agencies here by commissions earned. What was the actual dollar amount in 2023 for them? So our number one in commission, as ranked by commission, took in $630,000 in commissions last year. And our number 10 took in almost 300. Look at that. 1 to 10 is, number 10, so close to 300,000. So our top 10 commission earners were, seeing seeing revenues in the range of 300 to 600,000, and the average is 29. Call it 30. Give her $1,000 to have. But the point of the what I want you to take away from this is when you focus on luxury and make the right choices in your host agency, in your consortia, and invest in your own training. Because if you want to focus on luxury, you actually need to know how to create your own client attraction system to get luxury clients. So this now becomes a legitimate a legitimate career option for those of you who are really thinking of finally saying goodbye to that career that is giving you a lot of great things, but it is also sucking the life out of you. Like, what's the cost of that? And so you can step into really lining up with who you truly are, and doing something that just makes your heart sing. Who doesn't want that? So let's move on. So let's look at the phases of the travel business journey, because this is something else I wanted to know when I was really thinking about this, was if I knew, okay, if this is what the financial upside is, how long does it take me to get there? And those people that we just showed you, the top 10 commission earners, they're all in what we call phase 4 of their travel business journey. And after spending 12 years, maybe even more, 12 plus years, coaching travel advisors, I started to see a pattern of where people were and what they needed when they were there. And it wasn't like everybody was all over the place. I started to see that actually there is a pattern here, and there are phases. And if you just, how do you eat an elephant, right? How do you get to phase 4? How do you get to the place where you're generating over $300,000 in revenue just from your travel business? The way you eat an elephant is you got to chunk it down bite by bite, right? So these are the bites to getting to there. Phase 1 is, when you start your startup phase, you're going to see sales of anywhere from 0 to 199,000, which means you're going to generate revenues of anywhere from 0 to 25,000. You are probably not going to make money while you're in phase 1. In fact, you might lose money, and that's okay, because once you get to phase 4, you will catch that back up. But you're not a failure if you're not making money in phase 1. If you're selling $200,000 or less in travel in a 12-month window, the likelihood of you actually making money is very, very low. And while you're in this phase, the main focus is getting your brand established, identifying your core compelling message, and putting that into all of your branding assets, like the name of your business logo, your website, your business cards, all of that, as well as your easing template. All of these branding assets, it takes time to develop a brand and be clear on it. And so that's one of the things you'll be focused on phase 1. There's lots of other things, but that didn't fit in the cell. So branding is a big, major focus when you're in phase 1. Phase 2 is when you start to sell just over 200,000 and up to about 600,000. And so now your revenues are coming up, which is great. You're going to be generating revenues of anywhere between 20,000 and 65,000. You might still be losing money, depending upon how much money you're investing in outsourcing things. Maybe you're outsourcing some of your marketing. Maybe you're outsourcing some of your follow-through steps. And you've actually already hired a virtual assistant. That's great if you are. So in phase 2, we see either still in the red from an income statement point of view to possibly breaking even. And when you're in phase 2, we are coaching our advisors to be focused on establishing their client attraction systems. You can't just send out an email once a year to your Christmas card list and say, hey, I'm in business. Here's my little, sign on the door. Tell all your friends about me and come. You need systems. You need to be consistently building your list, and you need to be consistently nurturing your list. So you're building a relationship with the people on your list. Which all will lead to this sense of know, like, and trust. But if you're not building the list, you can't And you're not, if you're building know, like, and trust, you're building know, like, and trust with no one. So your client attraction systems need to have both list building and relationship building systems in there. And that should be your focus, so that you can not necessarily set it and forget it, but really make it much more efficient to attracting clients to you, so that you can sell more, which means move into phase 3. So phase 3 is when you're selling between 600,000 and just under $1 million in sales in a 12-month window. That means your revenues are going to be starting around 65,000 and as much as approximately 130,000. So here is where it starts to turn, right? This is the crest. This is the turning point. You're going from either break even to starting to actually see profit, which is amazing. And when you're in phase 3, your focus should be scaling. How do I continue to do what I do in a very, elevated way in terms of customer service and creating these, being the facilitator of people taking life-changing vacations. How do I continue to do that and do more of that without increasing my expenses? And that is what scaling is all about, is figuring out how to grow your revenues faster than your expenses, plain and simple. So that's going to be your focus in phase 3. And then in phase 4, the first 3 phases, by the way, are temporary, is from our perspective. From our perspective, you should probably want to get to phase 4, possibly stop at phase 3. If that's your idea of financial satisfaction, that's great. Then you're good. But we don't want you losing money. So we don't want you staying in phase 1 and phase 2, because you're going to be losing money or not making any money. And ultimately, you're going to develop a sense of resentment to your clients. And if you're feeling resentful of your clients, you can't be of best service to them. So phase 4 is when you exceed $1 million in sales. Your revenues are in the 6 figures and up. You are making a profit, and your focus when you get to phase 4 is becoming a leader. So instead of, sure, we see business models where you have the solopreneur in phase 4 and they're happy as a clam that way. But even the solopreneur, because I was going to say, you want to start delegating things. The solopreneur is going to have hired virtual assistants. They're going to have hired a couple of people to just help them do the things where it doesn't make economical sense for them to be doing those things, like sitting on hold for 3 hours to make a lunch reservation in So the other thing I wanted to say is that industry-wide, the average travel agent is not making it past phase 2. And this is another reason why it hasn't really appeared on the radar screen to people who are already very successful in a career, have a passion for travel. It just, because the average industry average for a travel agent, it just doesn't look like a great option to those people. And we're here today to talk about how it really is a fantastic, legitimate option when you lean into luxury and you are committed to getting to that phase 4 and understand that there are phases. So that is what is the financial upside. So let's move on to what is a host agency. Super important concept if you are honestly thinking about this new chapter in your life for yourself, is one of the most important things is choosing the right host agency or possibly a franchise. So a host agency is basically a foundational support system for travel agents. The host agency is going to leverage its resources and technology to get more benefits, get more commission, get better treatment, nurture relationships for you so that you don't have to do that. So there's a bunch of different things that a host agency does, but ultimately the host agency that is truly focused on the right things is going to be offering support, offering a great community, offering fantastic training and professional development, and seriously focused on relationships with the partners and nourishing those and encouraging their advisors to also participate in nourishing those relationships. The concept of a host agency really didn't become a thing. Let me say that differently. So if we were to backtrack to, 1992, there really weren't host agencies back then. And this was before the World Wide Web actually existed. And that was before, because of that, online booking engines existed. This was also 1992. It was before the airlines decided to stop paying commission on domestic and international tickets. And so those two things, the World Wide Web, which led to online booking engines, the introduction of that, and the introduction of airlines no longer paying commissions on domestic tickets as well as international tickets, they were game changers for the travel industry. They completely disrupted the industry and created a lot of chaos, but out of chaos came something new. And one of those things was what we call a host agency. Because here's what happened. Because there were the online booking engines, before they existed, the only people that had access to the supplier chain was a travel advisor, a travel agent. So if you wanted to book travel with a tour operator, well-known tour operator, you had to pick up the phone and call a travel advisor. I can't remember if they would take direct bookings, but you had to know what you wanted to book if you wanted to book direct. If you wanted to know what your options were, you had to call a travel advisor. Even with airline tickets, if you knew exactly what flight you wanted to book, you could pick up the phone and call American Airlines or British Airways. But if you wanted to know what your options were, the only one that had access to the options was a travel advisor. And so think about that. Once the online booking engines existed, now everybody has access to that inventory of travel, and you don't need to pick up the phone to call a travel advisor. And not only that, some agencies back in that day, when the airlines eliminated commissions, were 50% of their revenues were dependent on or coming from the commissions from booking airline tickets. And so when they decided to stop paying commissions, their revenues got cut in half. And so there were a ton of brick and mortars where the traditional business model looked like a brick and mortar agency, right? Storefront, working hours, agents at desks, and they were employees. They were not independent contractors. They were paid a salary, maybe possibly a little bit of a incentive for selling more, but they were salaried employees for the most part. And if that company now has to close its doors because it cannot figure out how to replace the revenue that has been lost, and its expenses are now well exceeding its revenues, they had to close their doors, and that happened a lot. And so now you've got this person who is a travel agent who is sitting at his or her desk, or no longer sitting at his or her desk. Clients that have booked their travel with this person in the past are calling them and saying, hey, I have another trip I want to book. And that person saying, well, I got fired, I can't book your travel. And everybody's like losing there. And so what happened is you had all these travel agents start booking from home, but now how do they get paid that commission? They had to have some kind of a credential to get the, partner to pay them a commission. And that is where the host agency was born. Is a host started, they almost called it renting their credentials. And that was a very original version of a host agency, but that has obviously evolved. And so in addition to providing the credentials and collecting the commission on behalf of the travel advisors, host agencies do a lot more. But it's helpful to understand the history to give it context. So another option for you, if you're considering this path, is to purchase a franchise. There's some great travel agent franchise options available. And so I'm sure that's a question that's coming up. Do I do a host agency or do I do a franchise? And really the biggest difference between a host and a franchise is the branding. So if you go with a franchise, your branding is going to be the branding of the franchise. If you choose a host agency, and this is not always the case with every single host agency, but if having your own brand and your own message is important to you, then you'll probably want to go the host agency route and find a host agency that absolutely supports individual branding. Also, with a host agency, your startup costs tend to be lower, where a franchise, you're gonna pay for the franchise, which is often 5 figures, 6 figures, definitely a number with a comma in it. And often franchises take, instead of doing a percentage of your commission, they do a percentage of your sales, which is pretty hefty. So that's really, and with a host agency, you own your business and retain full control, because when you host, you're not an employee of the host agency, you're an independent contractor. Whereas if you go the franchise route, you obviously have the franchise's brand and guidelines to follow and operate under. And so it's just much more structured, that's all. So how do you find the right host agency? I think one of my favorite resources to guide people to, which is an amazing resource, is hostagencyreviews.com. Steph Lee is the mastermind behind that. Her parents actually owned a travel agency for many, many years. And she saw a need for people who were considering changing hosts, and how much the host agency space has grown over the last 20 years. So she's been running and operating this site where you can go and see hundreds and hundreds of host agencies, see a description, learn more about them, and then obviously agents or advisors that are hosted with that host will give it reviews, so that you have, are actually hearing it from people who are currently hosted there and get a real feel for all the different, and it's just like anything else where everyone's going to have their own personality, and not every host is right for every single advisor, right? And at GTN we feel the same way. We are not the right match for everybody, but we feel very excited and inspired by the fact that we do provide such an awesome layer of support and resources and foundation for those that are a right fit for us. So also something to consider when you're looking at the right host agency is that how important is, starting at a much higher commission share for you, or is it something that, you're okay with starting at a lower commission share, knowing that it will grow as your sales grow. But ask the questions about the commission structure and what they retain. They're not all created equal. It's not standard. I said on that, any budget buddy average is 80-20 split. Yeah, that's average, but the spectrum is massive. And if you find a host and it feels like the commission sharing is low, keep researching because there are other options out there. Is this host agency with a consortia that's a right fit? And we're going to talk about the consortia in a second. What about the community? Honestly, this is a solopreneur career for the most part. And many of our advisors do this from home. That doesn't mean that it's a hobby by any means, not at all. But if you're working from home and you're working in isolation by yourself, you absolutely need a collaborative, supportive community to keep you going, to stretch you, to encourage you, to inspire you, to share ideas with you, to share processes, and just, and collaborate. I already said that, but I'll say it again. It's a very important piece. So definitely ask questions about the community and see what people are saying, especially on host agency reviews about the community. And then the last one is professional development. We believe at Gift to Travel Network that is our secret sauce, because the founders and the executive team, we are coaches to the core, and we are business coaches. And professional development, there is no end to professional development. We think it's a continuum, and we do have an award-winning professional development program at Gift to Travel Network that comes with hosting with us. It's called Travel Business University. You get access to that when you host with us. So just make sure that professional development is offered at your host if you're considering this host. So now another question: what is a consortia? A consortia is similar to a host agency, but now it's one more layer outside. Like the nucleus is you. If you are the nucleus, the first layer around you is your host agency, and then the layer around that is a consortia. And so most hosts will choose a consortia because the consortia give ultimately you, the advisor, but even the end user is your client, the traveler, benefits because of that buying power. So everyone, I think most people are familiar with like the American Express benefits. If you have the platinum card, you get certain things at hotels. Well, a consortia, that is a consortia, and that's what a consortia does. But consortia, they also offer marketing support. They offer training and development. They offer a lot of networking opportunities. So a consortia is an important piece of the puzzle, and making sure that you choose a host that is with the consortia that is best aligned with your vision and your business is very, very important. And I'll talk to our consortia in a second, but that's just answering that question. Okay, so a consortia is important because it will help you gain access to exclusive deals and offers that can help you stand out from the market. A consortia is important from a brand reputation point of view, for sure. And the shared costs for marketing and technology and training is absolutely huge. We are our consortia is Virtuoso Travel Network, and Virtuoso. I'm so used to saying Travel Network. And the marketing that they produce is just beyond amazing. I mean, it's just, and to try and do that yourself as a solopreneur would be very, very costly, very time consuming, and quite frankly, not possible to be able to reproduce any of it. So, having said all of that, talking about, we forgot about the question. What about certifications? What certifications are available? So the certifications, the Travel Institute offers some certifications. I think they offer 3, the CTA, the CTC, as well as the CTIA. And these are great. You can put these acronyms at the end of your name. It might make you feel a little bit better. But having been in the industry for, a long time, close to 25 years now, I don't think that the consumer awareness of those programs is there. And so putting those acronyms after your name is really going to help you in your own confidence. So I would do those programs if you feel like you need that confidence. But there's nothing required to become a travel advisor. And I think that is a double-edged sword, because the barriers to entry are very, very low. So that's good and it's bad, right? If you want to do this, it doesn't really cost an enormous amount of investment to just decide to, sign up with a cheaper host agency option, less expensive host agency option, and start selling travel. But there's, you can make a lot of mistakes. You have to figure out how to attract clients. There's just a lot of unknowns there. And I think that's one of the reasons why the travel industry or the travel agent profession really still struggles to be legitimized, is because we have so many people, because of the low barriers to entry, who get into it and then they don't really follow through, and they're still just a hobbyist. And they give other travel advisors who are professional, who are committed, who are focused, and see this as a legitimate career for them. They get a bad name because of that. So that is the credentials. And in terms of what is available, like I said, Travel Institute offers some certifications. There are new to the industry training programs available, but we have at Gift to Travel Network, we have what we call the Travel MBA program, and this we developed this when we started the host agency, because that was me. I was the person who was trying to find a legitimate career option around travel, selling travel, that would give me the freedom, the fulfillment, and the financial satisfaction that I wanted. Because really we call those the 3 Fs. The freedom, fulfillment is what I was seeking when I was still in my banking career. I had the financial satisfaction, absolutely. I had financial success, but I was seeking freedom and I was seeking fulfillment. And in the first 6 years of my journey as a travel advisor, I flip-flopped. I had the freedom, I had the fulfillment, but I wasn't making any money. I was one of those people that was the accidental hobbyist. I stayed in phase 2 for 6 long years until I figured out how to make this all work. And so the Travel MBA program is the result, is the solution to all of the problems that I encountered over a 10-year career of selling travel for myself. And we've put it all into a 12-month program, a one-stop shopping solution, so that you don't have to, figure out what host, you don't have to figure out what consortia. If you understand that you want to get to phase 4 and you want to lean into luxury because that financial opportunity is super important to you, that you are replacing a solid income from a different career, then I believe we have the program for you that nobody else in the industry has, and that is called the Travel MBA. So this is for people who are well-traveled, they're driven, they're entrepreneurial, they're connected, but they're also curious, they're tenacious, they're detail-oriented, and they're innovative. If you have a passion for travel and you love researching, you geek out on researching like I used to do, I know that you've got a lot of these characteristics, but the ones that are super important is that you're also entrepreneurial and you're driven, because our program is not for a hobbyist. We don't want the hobbyist. We want the person who wants to get to phase 4. We want the person who sees financial satisfaction as in that higher realm because it's just fun. It's just fun to make more money, quite honestly. So like I said, we're not the best fit for everybody, but if that's what you, if that matches who you are, then I think you're going to really struggle to find a program that is a better fit for you than ours. There's me. We've changed this picture. So the Travel MBA program is a 12-month program. We begin that 12-month journey with you by having you come in person to little old Mooresville, North Carolina, home to Lake Norman, one of the most popular lakes in the country for VRBO, believe it or not. So you come here to Mooresville for 3 days and you do this jumpstart orientation and you get to meet members of our team, you get to meet your mentors, you get to meet, you get to do a site inspection, which is so fun. We take you down into Charlotte and you get to see the Ritz-Carlton and some of the other hotels in Charlotte. And then the rest of the program is not in person. It's all online, right? It's virtual, which means all you need is a laptop and a Wi-Fi connection to access your program. So you have dedicated content in the first 8 weeks of the program, hybrid delivery of between content and Q&A types calls. There's learning modules that you have access to, but then that is paired with ongoing mentoring. So as you consume these modules that are taking you through branding and client attraction systems and setting up your service processes and understanding how to book things. I mean, there's just a lot, right? It's a fire hose that's going to come at you when you first start. And that's one of the reasons why we have the jumpstart orientation. So we can maybe ease the, what do you call it? The rush of the fire hose coming at you. So there's also access to Travel MBA group coaching calls. That's twice weekly. We're going to keep you accountable. So we do quarterly check-ins with a senior mentor. One of the important pieces to your branding journey is to master your message, we call it. And you get a 20-minute session one-on-one with me where I really help like grab it out of you, what your brilliance is, and wrap that into a message. So you get access to all kinds of content. You basically are enrolled in our Travel Business University program with the specific title of being in the Travel MBA, which is for people in phase one. We would never, ever encourage anyone to try and do phase one without some kind of training or professional development. You can do it on your own if you want, but the likelihood of you getting through and past phase one is very low. And then the likelihood of you getting through phase two and past phase three is even lower. So very, very layered, very rich program, full of content, full of coaching, full of collaboration and community. Get all the C's. So this is just what our learning platform looks like in the Travel MBA program. There's, I believe, 10 levels in it. And we start you at level 0 before you even begin. So you have 24/7 access to this, obviously, because it's just an online learning platform. Here is Asa Portuguese, who is a graduate of our Travel MBA program. She started out, and she actually really struggled with her own confidence. Similar journey to me. She left a very successful career, was not passionate about what she was doing, and decided it was time to choose her instead of, the right way to do things. And really, it was time she gave herself permission to indulge in doing something for herself. And now, 3 years later, she is rocking and rolling. She is so excited. She's traveling the world. And she actually got to travel on our top accelerators trip in May to Hawaii with a group of others, 9 others. So we awarded this trip to 10 people, 10 agencies in our network who showed obviously great growth. But in addition to growth, they are also very engaged in the Travel Business University content and community. So that's Asa. That could be you. These are our amazing mentors, all amazing. They all have come with their own expertise and wisdom. And for example, you have Roseanne Coyle up there in the top right, who worked for an insurance company on the legal side for many, many years, spent a lot of her career doing that. And so when it comes to travel insurance questions, she is our guru, and man, does she know her stuff. She is just, and then there's Celeste, who is a cruise. She knows the inside and out of every single cruise ship out there. And, if you just don't know, you have an inquiry for a cruise line, you've never even sold it, you've never even sailed on it. you've got people to go to. And then there's Carol McKee, who is a mentor, but she's also our tech mentor, who ran her own business, a couple of businesses, and sold them for 20, 25 years. And she is an operations master. And she's just also a fantastic, they're all amazing. And Kristen is the head of professional development. Just amazing women here that are your support system. And actually, we have a couple more mentors that we've added who are also rock stars that are not on the screen. So it just gets richer. It just gets richer as we go along. So in addition to your mentors, you have your community too. You have a community of experts. So we understand, and I understand because I did this. When I first started selling travel, I felt like a fraud. I felt like, how is anybody going to believe? How can I ask someone to bring me their business when I don't even know what I'm doing? And there's so much that I don't know. Well, if you have a community of experts at your fingertip that you, and we work very hard at making this community very collaborative. So if you have this collaborative community who are willing to, they don't care if you're brand new. If you have a question and they have wisdom, they're going to share it. And so it absolutely helps, especially in that beginning stage. But even once you up at phase 4, I mean, that right hand picture is from our mastermind, our top producers club, and they use each other because we get them together at a mastermind meeting once or twice a year where they forge unbelievable relationships, and they use each other for all kinds of things. And most people in most host agencies, they would be competitors of each other, and they don't see themselves as competitors at all. And Virtuoso is our consortia. It is the premier luxury consortia. There is no other consortia that does luxury the way Virtuoso does. So if you're going to be selling luxury and you want to really lean into luxury, you want your consortia to be Virtuoso. It's just simple, plain and simple. We're very, very proud of our hotel elite programs. These are, so if you were to join Give to Travel Network as a travel advisor, and you were to book your clients at a Four Seasons or a Belmont or a Jumeirah or a Marriott, that's part of one of the hotels that's in their Stars Illuminous program, you get all kinds of fabulous amenities and perks and upgrade type of things that are going to make you look like a rock star, because you have the ability to fast forward them to this elite status, even though they may not have the history of staying there. You have the history, or your host agency has a history of booking a lot of it, and you're able to extend those benefits and that relationship to your clients. So, oh yes, I talked about the 3-day jumpstart. I know we're also out of time. So quickly, what is the investment of our travel MBA program? It is $9,997. We have 4 cohorts a year. We do offer a monthly payment plan. So that is, if you know, you don't have $9,997 in the bank to pay it off, you can do it monthly. I know that may seem like a steep number, but as a business coach, I would encourage you to, any kind of investment like this, consider it in terms of what is the lifetime value of your travel business. Is this a life that you want? You're investing, this would be your investment in a new life for you, a new chapter for you. And if this is the life that you want, this is the life you're going to get. And the life that you're going to get is, on average, $150,000 a year. Once you've gotten the business to phase 4, maybe it takes 3 years to get there. So let's say you're going to be in this for 13 years, and it takes 3 years to get to this place, and then you make $150,000 a year for the next 10 years. So that's 1.5 million that you're just making. This is not even what you would sell the business for. But an investment of 9997 is 0.7% of the lifetime value of that. And so really, now it doesn't look like such a big investment because this is an investment in a new life for you. So if this is of interest to you, this is what to do next. We ask you to, all you have to do is scan this code or go to travelbusiness.mba/apply. Apply to our program. It actually doesn't take very long, but submit your application and we will schedule an interview to make sure that there is a good fit there. And then after that, the next step is just pay a deposit to enroll, and we're on our way. So there were 2 questions. The last question is, what is your monthly host fee on top of the Travel MBA program on a 90-10 split? So the way it works is if you are an experienced advisor and you have not sold more than $200,000 in sales in a 12-month window, we require you to go through our Travel MBA program. If you are in our Travel MBA program, there is no monthly host fee. There is no membership fee. That is, the 9997 is your total fee for hosting with us and your training and the Jumpstart meeting. All of it comes in that fee. And so there is no, but you are automatically put on a 70-30 split. You can opt to go up to a 90-10 split once you complete the program. And if you are selling over $600,000 in sales in a 12-month window, that monthly fee for the 90-10 would be waived. But if let's say you get out of the program, you would naturally go into an 80-20 split immediately. And if you've been able to sell over $200,000 in a 12-month window, that 80-20 fee would be waived. If you didn't sell that, the 80-20 fee is $99 a month. And if you wanted to upgrade to a 90-10 split and you're below $600,000 in sales, the monthly fee is $299 a month. And then going back to the phases, Mira had asked about how long each phase lasts. We used to give timelines and we don't anymore because everybody is different. It really is based upon that sales threshold. But I absolutely know that a really good structured professional development program with mentors and a collaborative community accelerate the timeline of those phases, shorten the timeline of those phases. All right, well, thank you, everybody. If you are, considering this as a really cool option for you and you're dreaming about it, I invite you to just apply. You never know, and just check out what is possible, and also check out host agency reviews for all the different other options that are available to you. Do your research, but if you think this is you, I honestly don't think there's another program better than what we do.
One more last question.
Oh,
when does the last cohort start?
The last cohort starts in October.
August.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The last cohort starts in August of this year, but then we'll have more cohorts in 2025, 4 more in 2025. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.